you're raising dairy replacement calves or beef calves, and with the prices as high as they are, it really pays to pay attention to them so that they don't get sick and they grow well. And they should have a nice slick coat. They should not have this like very ruffled, dry looking hair with a big head. I mean, that's just a sign that everything went wrong for you. So here's 4 things to do to help keep things from going wrong. Number 4, flies, biting flies. We're here on my dad's farm. Growing up over the past 20 years when we had them out on pasture, every once in a while you'd see their backs of their Holstein heifers. They would get all pink and they're the big wicked flies coming around. And they would make the animals just cluster together, swing their tails, and they would not gain like that. I mean, it's just really hard on the heifers because they're getting bit all the time and they can bite on the teats and make mastitis. So what we did about that was using like Sidectin or other pour-on, and we sometimes would put it in a handheld sprayer. Later on, we got lazy. We got a battery operated, like a little portable Roundup sprayer for around the buildings that had a DeWalt battery. We went and put diesel fuel and Sidectin mixture in there and sprayed them while they were eating. That just really helps cut down on the flies. The other thing, when my mom wanted to have company, we would always do it before then. But more recent history, we're doing a better job with the flies, and we're not worrying about it before company comes. We also used a rubber, like a big long, 6-foot long cotton sock is really with a rope through the center. You soak it with pour-on, and then they rub underneath it. That helps as well. Keeping track of the flies helps for your farmstead and the heifers. Number 3, hoof health. When your feet hurt, you kind of limp around. I just got done trying to twist my one foot off when falling off a bicycle, and I lost 5 pounds over the next 3 weeks. Mainly because it hurt so much and it wasn't much fun to sit at the table and eat because you had to keep your foot up. So the same applies to your animals. When they go lame, they don't go up to the feed trough well at all. Or if they're outside, they're the ones that get beat up more, and they're always on the back. So the things you can do about hoof health is don't leave them be walking around in wet slop all the time. Try to keep the manure scraped up in the manure aisle, and keep a dry environment. Keep them away from little driveway stones because those can get in there. So it's just a lot of common sense. Keep them. I mean, if this is young stock, they hardly need to be trimmed. But if they start limping, you need a way to be able to pick their hoof up and check what's going on. I helped my dad with that over many years. This is more lactating cows. They're always more of an issue. But we had a ratchet and kind of a chute to lift the foot up, and there's a bunch of kick around and carry on until you had it nice and tight. But we got it done. So it's just those little things with the hoof health. You can put biotin in to make their hooves harder. If they're too hard, I mean, if they're dry all the time, like in a tie stall barn, then they get really hard and you have the opposite problem. Generally, when they're running around, like some are out in pasture here, that always helps for hoof health, is having them out in pasture, because that's the way I guess God created them to be. But it's way too much work to have them on the pasture all the time. Number 2 is the bedding and the microenvironment. So what I'm talking about is bedding. So right now we're standing in the pen, a bedded pack pen. If the bedding is stinky and they're laying with their nose down against, they're breathing in manure air, so to speak. So you want to keep the bedding clean, and even though you put clean stuff across the top, if it's soupy underneath, it still is kind of wicked when you're down against the bedding. There's this thing about 4 air exchanges per hour and all kinds of stuff, and that works. But if the ammonia is just coming up through, you're going to have a hard time. The biggest thing you can do is keep the bedding dried out. One of the ways you can do that is just having air blowing on it, such as with these big ceiling fans behind us. I mean, you can use panel fans, whatever, but just keep it dried, the bedding dried out as you go, and you will have way better luck. But in a calf kennel, we found out that after 6 weeks, just clean it all out and put new sawdust in, because you can use straw. Right now we're standing in corn fodder. You want to keep it dry. As you add more bedding, you want to try to make sure the bottom stays dry, because if you're walking around and you can hear the vacuum sound when the hooves pick up, it's way too wet, and the ammonia is just going to come off. Your fans will help, but you could help yourself so much more by reducing your stocking density or blowing more air on it so that it's dry as you come up through. And it'll also be a lot handier to haul, because when it's all soupy and you dump it in and you're in the skid loader, why, you get splattered. So life is just easier when you keep the bedding dry and keep the front aisle scraped, and that's going to help with the calves. If you have microplasma or something like that, the manure is the manure is getting slopped into the water bowls from them when the animals slip and it sprays manure and that gets into water. That is a problem. So it's all these little things to do that will help make their bedding drier and they won't get sick near as quickly. But the biggest one I would say is not having, put your nose down to it at bedding level, because that's where their noses are when they sleep. So number one, to keep you have good animals is have feed that they like to eat, that's not moldy and it's not too wet and it's not too dry. I mean, that covers a lot of ills, but these heifers right here, they're getting a ration that includes corn silage, and sometimes they're not always scooping the mold out of the corner, and then the milk production goes down. A number of years ago, we had made silage that was too wet, and it turned butyric. I mean, it stank so bad. We tried feeding it to the cows, the lactating cows, and their milk production just went down. And then my dad was like, well, man, this is so expensive. Surely we can use it somehow. So we started feeding it to the heifers, and then they kind of got little bloody manure, and all of a sudden he realized they were no longer settling. Like, it just affected the repo. So in this bunker out here behind us, it was, I don't know how many, 300 tons or something like that. We hauled it out, and there were people like half a mile away wondering, what in the world are they smelling? This is kind of a nasty, it's not manure, but it's halfway manure, and it just smelled so bad. So make good quality feed that's not too wet, because that one came because it had rained, and so we were really tedding the rye, and then it rained some more, so the ash was along with it, and it kind of dried off, and then the custom chopper came, and well, it's too wet, and they're calling for more rain, so let's just chop it and be done. But that we may as well would have just chopped it back out in the field. It was that bad. So you don't want to do that. So it's keeping the mold out of the feed, having a nutritionist that helps you set the ration, because without that, you come up with all kinds of ideas. The herd here has been averaging around 100 pounds when it was on 3 times a day, and it starts with having young stock that are doing well. And so that's why you want to have good feed, because it's going to allow you to have better mature animals that are going to either sell better or milk a lot better. My name is Kevin Hoover, and we build ventilation controllers and big ceiling fans over the last 20 years, and it's a lot of fun helping people do a better job with their animals.